Alrighty, so buenísimo. ¿Qué lo que mi gente? Welcome to my universe. Welcome back to my universe. Welcome to another episode of the Things I Never Said podcast. This is Starlenie speaking, pero ya tu sabe. So you know what? I have a question for the congregation. I'm really curious as to why more than 100,000 Afghan migrants have been airlifted out of Kabul after the disaster that occurred over there in the past couple of weeks, or I guess the past couple of months. And those migrants were brought over to the United States despite the fact that they were not vetted, despite the fact that the United States government does not know where these people are really coming from and if they are connected to terrorist groups like ISIS and the Taliban and every other group or organization that just manifests under a different name with the same beliefs or similar practices. I want to know why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wrote a letter with someone else, I forget the person's name, stating that at least 200,000 Afghan people should be brought over to the United States, right? And the United States government, for some reason, is setting up camps and houses for these Afghan migrants on military bases as we speak, okay? Every day that we're living and we're speaking, those migrants who do not have to abide by any COVID mandates and restrictions and laws and so on and so forth are being welcomed into this country with federal housing being given to them. Yet, the Mexican people at the border seeking asylum have to wait until their trials begin in order to come into this country. And the thousands of migrants from Haiti, Cuba, and Venezuela are under that bridge in Texas right now, trying to cross in order to obtain asylum as well. Yet, as of 2 hours ago, it has been published by, I believe, let me go to the article, by CNBC, that the United States government has already begun flying those migrants out. Okay, those migrants are being forced to fly back to Haiti, as well as other countries from which they come, even though their countries are in disarray, and that is why those migrants are coming here. Have we forgotten about the assassination of the Haitian president, which occurred recently? The Haitian migrants are suffering. That is why they came over here, and they weren't doing too well in other countries in Latin America as well. You know what? But let me read some of this article. Under the key points section, it says some of the thousands of Haitian migrants who crossed from Mexico into a Texas border camp were flown back to their poverty-stricken homeland Sunday by the United States. Many of the migrants have lived in Latin America for years, but now are seeking asylum in the United States as economic opportunities in Brazil and elsewhere dry up. The Department of Homeland Security said Saturday that it moved about 2,000 migrants from the camp to other locations Friday for processing and possible removal from the United States. And the other day, Fox News reported that drones from the Fox News organization can no longer be used in order to capture what's going on over there, which just makes me very suspicious of how those migrants are being treated. Oh my goodness. It says, some of the thousands of Haitian migrants who crossed from Mexico into a Texas border camp were flown back to their poverty-stricken homeland Sunday by the United States in an effort to deter others from crossing into the country. A U.S. official told the Associated Press that 3 flights departed San Antonio for Port-au-Prince and would arrive in the afternoon. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because the person was not authorized to discuss this matter publicly. People are risking their jobs and their lives to let the American people know what is going on. How is it that the United States government can justify bringing in more than 100,000 Afghan migrants, yet 10,000 Haitian migrants and Cuban and Venezuelan folks as well who are migrating are being flown back to where they reside and where they come from, even though if you peel back the layers of history, you can see that the United States government has played a fundamental role in the alleged corruption and destruction and the political crises that these countries have endured. Search up the history of the United States and its influence on Venezuela, its influence on Cuba, its influence on Haiti. I mean, shit, the whole island of Hispaniola has been influenced and impacted by antics from the United States government. These people are coming here because of what the United States government has done in terms of implementing certain dictators, certain leaders to those countries, allegedly, in order to carry out these agendas in the name of democracy, allegedly. And I'm sure that you can find out that information very easily. All you have to do is read or talk to people who come from Latin America. Our parents can tell you. The forums exist. The documentaries exist. I mean, Jesus, search up Rafael Trujillo. Where did he train? In the United States. Who gave him the green light? The United States government. And look what he did with República Dominicana. Look what he did with the Dominican Republic and the Dominican people. Look what he did. So it's amazing to me how the United States government can justify denying Latinos, denying the Haitian people who are from French Latin America, okay? They are Latinos, in case you forgot, or in case your mind tells you that the Haitians are all dark-skinned people and therefore can't be Latinos. They are Latinos. They come from Latin America, just like Brazilians are Latinos. They come from Latin America. I don't understand how the United States can deny these Haitian people, these Venezuelans and these Cubans and these Mexican migrants asylum, but then justify bringing in 100,000 plus people and then giving those Afghan people free housing, free housing, free housing. So after the Supreme Court just ruled that landlords can start to evict residents who cannot pay their rent, Americans have to be on the street if they cannot pay their rent, but Afghan people can come here and get free housing on military bases, and the government is building houses in order to house 50,000 residents per house on top of these military bases. And I believe there was an article that came out last week or earlier this week about how some Afghans are reported to already have been leaving these bases. Some of them have allegedly apparently left these bases. In my state, the governor sent out some type of statement to let us know that we're going to start seeing Afghan people come into our state because we're welcoming Afghans who are recent migrants to the country. So y'all can't tell us anything about stimulus checks, right? Y'all can't raise minimum wage, right? Y'all can't tell us anything about when the next rental assistance program will be created, but y'all can keep on talking about infrastructure this, infrastructure that. We have to stay home. We see all these signs that say, oh, please stay home if you can, because of the rise in cases of the corona. But for some reason, it makes sense to welcome hundreds of thousands, not no damn 5,000, but hundreds of thousands of Afghan people into this country. Afghan people who do not have to follow the mask mandates because they're migrants, not citizens. How does that make sense? How is that not going to increase the cases of this corona that y'all say is just so deadly and so serious? It's so serious, but it makes sense to bring in hundreds of thousands of people into this country and not have them be forced to follow the same mandates we are forced to follow. How does that make any sense? Where's the logic? Please, ¿dónde está? Where is it? Why does it make sense for Ms. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to say that at least 200,000 Afghan people should be airlifted into this country? What? While American citizens are still stuck in Kabul if they're even still alive. Why does that make any sense? If the United States government and its impact on Latin American countries is well documented, if it's so easy to find, how do you justify denying these migrants the asylum that they seek as a result of what our government has done to their governments and their lands? You have entire countries who have a monopoly over some of the land and the resources that are coming out of these countries. You have tourists who can go to Cuba and live better, okay? They live better. They have access to grocery stores with actual food and water and other resources inside of them, whereas the actual Cuban residents don't have access to any of that. Search it up, read about it. It's so bad that the Cuban residents and even their children resort to selling sex just to be able to make money. Because no matter what your position is, no matter what your job title is, I believe that the most that all Cuban residents can make is $50. You know what? Where is God? Where is God? I just don't understand how this world could be so demonic. The article says many of the migrants have lived in Latin America for years, but now are seeking asylum in the United States as economic opportunities in Brazil and elsewhere dry up. Thousands have been living under the bridge in Texas border city of Del Rio, and many of them said they will not be deterred by the U.S. plans. Some said the recent devastating earthquake in Haiti and the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse make them afraid to return to a country that seems more unstable than when they left. Quote, in Haiti, there is no security, end quote, said Fabricio Jean, a 38-old Haitian who arrived in Texas with his wife and two daughters. His wife and two daughters, oh my God. Quote, the country is in a political crisis, end quote. Scores of people waded back and forth across the Rio Grande on Saturday, re-entering Mexico to purchase water, food, and diapers in Ciudad Acuña before returning to the Texas encampment. They said, we're going to go to Mexico to get our resources, but we will be back, motherfucker. Junior John, a 30-year-old man from Haiti, watched as people cautiously carried cases of water or bags of food through the knee-high river. Knee-high, goddammit. Jean said he lived on the streets in Chile the past 4 years, resigned to searching for food and garbage cans. Quote, we are all looking for a better life, quote, he said. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry wrote Sunday on Twitter that he is concerned about the conditions at the border camp and that the migrants would be welcome back. Quote, we want to reassure them that measures have already been taken to give them a better welcome upon their return to the country and that they will not be left behind, end quote, he tweeted. Henry did not provide details about the measures. A Haitian government spokesman could not be immediately reached for comment. There's a crisis, but he cannot be reached for the comment. The government spokesman could not be reached for the comment. He did not provide any details. Where is he? Another Haitian political leader questioned Sunday whether the nation could handle an influx of returning migrants. God damn it. They can't handle the people who live there. Now they say they cannot handle the migrants who come from there. You cannot make this shit up. Jazzy, papa. Oh, my goodness. It says that another Haitian political leader questioned Sunday whether the nation could handle an influx of returning migrants and said the government should stop the how do you say this one? Repatriation. Quote, we have the situation in the south with the earthquake. The economy is a disaster and there are no jobs. How can the people make their money if there are no jobs? There is no economy. There is nothing. Election Minister Matthias Pierre said, adding that most Haitians cannot satisfy basic needs. The people need their help. The people need their help. The Prime Minister should negotiate with the U.S. government to stop those deportations in this moment of crisis. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security says Saturday that it moved about 2,000 migrants from the camp to other locations Friday for processing and possible removal. A statement from the agency also said it would have 400 agents and officers in the area by Monday morning and would send more if necessary. Yaves? Yaves? It's a caca. You see this shit? Isn't it interesting how Americans have been demanding stimulus checks for years? Okay, we've been in this bullshit for about 2 years. Americans have been demanding answers, and all the American government can talk to us about are more mandates, okay? More, and more mandates regarding this corona and infrastructure, a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. We have no answers as to when the federal government, not California's government, which is doing what California wants to do, but the federal government is going to give the people their money back, okay, in the form of a stimulus check. But look at how quickly the United States agency, the Department of Homeland Security, can move when these agencies, when this government is determined to kick people out. I mean, if you've paid attention, if you've been aware somewhat of what has been happening with the Mexican migrants who are at the border, that should just alarm you in itself. But they are so determined to make these 10,000 migrants go back to unbearable, inhumane conditions where they can't even meet their basic needs, that in a matter of days, they decided to put these people back on planes. Who knows how forcefully that has been? They decided to put these people back on planes. So far, they have already removed 2,000 migrants from the camp to other locations to quote unquote process them. The fuck are they doing to these people, bro? What are they doing to them? Why did all of a sudden they declare that no drones are allowed in that area in order to see what's going on? My goodness. My goodness. My Haitian people are strong. My Haitian people are resilient. Resilient. Okay? I appreciate that I adopted that from my father. I appreciate that tremendously. And from his people and his people's people. My heart breaks for these people, but you know what? I am hopeful that our God, no matter who you believe in, I'm hopeful that our spirit, our universe will save these migrants, because I believe that if the Afghan people can come over to this country and get free housing and ignore the mandates, then these Mexican people should be able to do the same, and these migrants from all across Latin America should be able to do the same. We all know that these immigrant people that we tend to make all these jokes about and take for granted come to this country and they do the work that most American people do not want to do. The work that most American people feel too self-righteous to do. I don't understand this. This is very inhumane. But I encourage folks to read about the history, read about what's going on, and speak on what you believe is right. Let the world know, let the universe feel an energy that says protect these migrants. I understand that there has to be a process, but there was nothing quite lawful and nonsensical about the way hundreds of thousands of Afghan people were airlifted out of Kabul and brought over here without papers, without vetting, without any processing. So if the nonsensical bullshit can work for the Afghan people by the hundreds of thousands, then I don't understand why it can't work for these 10,000 migrants. It's just 10,000 people. Screams a little bit of racism to me if you think about it. It screams a lot. It says a lot. These people have nowhere stable to return to. Even the prime minister said that the people of Haiti cannot meet their basic needs right now. There is no economy right now. The president was assassinated. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that the United States government was said to have something to do with that. I don't know that it's true, but I did read something about that, about it being some type of inside job. So, it's just very interesting, and it's also very unfortunate. I will keep the migrants in my prayers. And I would encourage the United States government to consider the history of this government's impact on these countries and their governments, and the stability of these migrants' lives and the residents of these countries' lives. It can all be traced. It's all been documented. But on that note, I would say please read the article. I'll leave it in the description below. You can also just search for it yourself. And I would say thank you for listening. Tata mi amores. Take care.